everybody to Witch Daily's interview series. This is so exciting, and we're going to have a little excerpt for our countdown, but we're going to have a larger interview. And today we are interviewing probably my favorite author this year, the author of Initiated, Amanda Yates Garcia. I can't tell you guys how excited I am about this book. It is written so poetically and beautifully, and it just makes me so happy to be able to talk to Amanda and have her share her brilliance with you guys. So I'm going to give you a little copy of the book, and we are going to be giving away a copy of Amanda's book, so be sure to ask about that. But I want to just introduce you guys to Amanda and have her tell us a little bit about her journey, and I have tons of questions, but I want to introduce her and ask her to say hi to everybody in our Witch Daily community.
Well, hello everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much, Marianne, for having me here, and I couldn't be happier to meet all of your witch coven out there.
Yeah, that's fun because we actually do talk about ourselves as a digital coven, so that's super exciting. But first of all, what kind of was the impetus to get the book written? Like it's such a beautiful memoir, and it covers quite a bit of territory. So can you tell us a little bit about just like how did it come to be?
What hadn't really been addressed was like the why of doing witchcraft and how it really affects one's actual lived experience, rather than kind of this hypothetical space about like what kind of candle you should use or crystals or things like that. I wanted something much more real and raw, and to speak to like the raw, real power of witchcraft, which for so many people comes to us through facing a world that, you know, rejects us, or that we reject, you know, the raw ugliness of the world. So I wanted to reach people in our most vulnerable parts, in their most vulnerable parts, and to help people find their way out of the underworld, which is what the book is about. Because once we go down there, once we travel through those spaces, then we know the way, and we can help others navigate as well. So
welcoming that complexity into your life with awareness and a practice that empowers it. And I think that that's so necessary right now. And it's a hard thing to communicate. So thank you.
Well, witchcraft is known as the craft of the wise, right? And that's what wisdom is, is the ability to tolerate complexity and ambiguity and move towards greater groundedness, move towards greater empowerment, greater love. And that requires a departure from absolutes, like saying like this is all bad or this is all good. I mean, most often things are much more complex. I mean, certainly nature is very complex.
Yeah.
And I appreciate nature and learn from her. Nature is my teacher.
I talk a lot when I teach witches about, you know, you are the magic. Just you don't need my, I mean, it's fine to seek out wisdom and ask for help. That's fine. That's always should be available. But you don't need my approval to be a witch. By being a witch, you are the magic. There's nothing else to say or do. You just have to find that voice and that capacity and make your own way.
Going back to what you were saying about that you don't need anything else, like you don't need anyone's permission to be a witch. In fact, I think that you actually become a witch the moment that you recognize that. The moment that you recognize there is no outside authority that can give you that permission, but that you find that within yourself and you say, no, I am this thing. Like, for instance, when I became the Oracle of Los Angeles, which is my business name, it was through an art project. I was doing an installation at an artist space where I had built this replica of Los Angeles City Hall, and I was sitting inside of it and channeling the spirit of the city, and then people could come in and like speak to Los Angeles essentially through me as this oracle. And people started calling me that night the Oracle of Los Angeles, or like, have you been in to see the Oracle of Los Angeles? And then from there, I decided like, no, I am the Oracle of Los Angeles. And then of course people are like, how dare you say that you are the Oracle of Los Angeles? By what authority are you the Oracle of Los Angeles? And it's like, because I say I am, then I am. But also, I didn't always have the confidence to do something like that. And it was when I like marshaled up the confidence to say like, no, I'm creating the world that I want to live in. And I want to live in a world where I am the Oracle of Los Angeles, where witches exist, where magic exists, you know, like, so I'm saying that it exists. And now like, it's in the Los Angeles Times that I am the Oracle of Los Angeles. Right. So I said it and now it is true, you know? So I feel like that's a big part of what witchcraft is inviting us to do. So it's to say, you know, I own my power, and the moment that you realize that is the moment that you become a witch.
Your opinion about, so you have Joy Harjo, a quote from her in I think it's chapter 4, you begin the chapter with that. And I'm so confused at having Joy Harjo as the poet laureate right now in this time. And I really was curious about your point of view, because I mean, she to me is like the embodiment of exactly this kind of resistance and creativity that we're talking about. And she's the poet laureate of the United States at this moment in time. And it seems wonderful and odd all together. And I just wanted your point of view.
What makes it seem odd to you?
That there's such a contradiction in what she represents versus what's happening in our government. I mean, I'm glad to have her there. I adore her work. But yeah, it just seems like incongruous.
I mean, I feel like oppression always implies resistance, right? Mm-hmm. And so the more oppressive structures in our culture, the more they get revealed, the more also the resistance gets revealed. And like, even though our culture is very repressive, it's racist, it's classist, it's heteronormative, you know, it has a lot of oppressive structures built into it. You know, there are a lot of people here who are actively resisting. And, you know, specifically, like, obviously, you know, Joy Harjo is Native American. So, you know, the people of color are the ones who are really like at the forefront of the resistance to oppression and movements for justice. Here in the United States and really all across the world. So maybe it's just a fortuitous act of the goddess that this leader that we really need is the voice of America right now, and I'm certainly very grateful for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm grateful for it too. It just, I almost feel like it's a portend of what's coming, and I've been, you know, I've floated that by a few people who also love poetry and words, and the response is always, I hope so. So it's, you know, that's kind of where my hope goes, is in her being there and her having that role. It just seems like, you know, being led into the next place next time.
She's calling us forward. I mean, she's like, these are the voices of spirit that are calling us forward. And in every time there are these voices, you know, that are guiding us, that serve as the Hecates to us while we're in the underworld and carry the torch for us. And all of the epigraphs that I used in my book, most of them were torch bearers for me. Like, the ones that helped me find my way out. Like, none of us do it alone, right? Like, we find our healing and we find our power through, like, by standing on the shoulders of giants, or through our teachers. And she's definitely one of my teachers.
Amanda Yates Garcia, thank you so much for doing this. It has been an absolute delight to talk to you. I'm a super huge fan of yours, and it's really exciting to get to talk to you. And I can't wait till we're free to have public ritual again, because I am so looking forward to coming to one of the Oracle of Los Angeles's next experiences. I think that's going to be moving and wonderful. And I encourage everybody to buy your book, and we're going to give a copy away, and I'll have details about that later. But please, please, please keep in touch with us and let us know if there's other stuff that's important to you. And we are so grateful that you participated in our Witch Daily series. So thank you.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to speak with you, and also just to connect through the ethers to all of your all of your coven out there. I'm so thrilled to be strengthening this web of magic and enchantment throughout the world. And yeah, I would love to, we'll have to get together for a ritual. That would be amazing. If anybody out there wants to follow me or find out more about my work, they can go to www.oracleoflosangeles.com. They can subscribe to my newsletter there. They can read my book, Initiated, Memoir of a Witch. And they can listen to my podcast, Between the Worlds podcast, about tarot and magic and witchcraft. And follow me on Instagram, Oracle of LA. So thank you so much.